My residents do love me despite fake news not showing the good that I do in the community, because I do a ton of good. But y'all just painted me as bad news for 4 years.
That right there, folks, was the super mayor. Yesterday, as the ballots were being cast by the villagers in the village of Dolton, expressing confidence, talking about how she was definitely going to win this election. She expected to win this election, and the reason why is because despite what all the YouTubers say about her corruption, you know, YouTubers like me, despite what the local news media says about her corruption, like the person that was interviewing her, in reality, in actuality, the super mayor is actually extraordinarily popular in the village of Dolton. She is well loved, and that would prove out in the election results, because as she told all the different trustees, including Jason House, her primary opponent, when you want to fight her, go fight her at the polls.
Stop it. Stop with the disrespect. We gonna end that right now. Stop. We elected, not them. So don't bring them in our fight because you guys got to bicker with me. When y'all want to fight, I told you, you meet me at the polls. That's it.
And the reason she challenges these people to fight her at the polls is she knows that once the votes are actually being cast, she is a lock. She is a guarantee to win the primary because she is for the people.
But everything we do for the people. But we under attack. We getting scrutinized in the media. For what? Loving on the people? Showing them that they matter to us? We going through the fires for y'all. Us, me and my administration.
Now look, needless to say, despite the fact that the super mayor appeared to come in very confident that she was going to win the election, very confident that the voters would see through those false allegations, as she would say.
False allegations and not facts.
In reality, not only did the super mayor lose this election, but she lost badly. We're talking her opponent getting nearly 90% of the vote. So we're going to break this whole thing down for you. We are going to say our goodbyes to the super mayor because now that she's been ousted from her Thornton Township ballot and she lost this primary, she essentially is not a public office holder. And unfortunately for me, but fortunately for the residents of the Thornton Township and the village of Dolton, this chapter in their lives is over. This woman is done. She's kaput. She is no more. And honestly, I feel happy for the villagers in the village of Dolton, although I know for sure that my chances of ever buying a house have gone down exponentially because you guys love the super mayor videos, and now who am I supposed to cover? Find me another super mayor. It's impossible. She's one of a kind. Jason House actually seems like a stand-up guy. He seems like he's going to do a good job in the village of Dolton, so we're going to have to leave this village alone because they seem to have resolved their main primary problem. Now, we're going to break this down. We're going to talk about this. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
Tiffany Henyard was a no-show at her election night party after only hours earlier saying she would be victorious. The winner of last night's Democratic primary is trustee Jason House.
We faced 4 years of intimidation, 4 years of failure, and tonight is the new day for the community adult.
You know it's a bad election result when you're the flashy person, you're the energized person, you're the over-the-top person, and your opponent is dancing his way to the podium to celebrate his victory while you couldn't even be bothered to show up to your own election party, which, by the way, I'm assuming since it's the super mayor, the election party was either expensed to the village of Dolton or to the Thornton Township, because that's what this woman does with tax dollars all the time. That being said, the results absolutely devastating, and I gave you guys the percentages. I told you that Jason House won nearly 90% of the vote, finishing in and around with 87 and a little percentage. The super mayor obviously ended up with the remaining 12% of the vote, but the way that breaks down in terms of raw numbers is absolutely fascinating, because remember, the village of Dolton only has 20,000 residents, and only 4,400-ish showed up to vote, but here was the split in terms of raw numbers between Jason House and the super mayor. So like I said, out of the 4,400, Jason House ended up walking away with 3,896, while the super mayor, who of course did not make an appearance Tuesday night at her election day headquarters, received 536 votes. Yeah, you did not mishear me. She only got 536 votes, which honestly is 535 votes too many, assuming that she was going to vote for herself. But the fact of the matter is, what's crazy about this number is that within 2 minutes of this video being published on my channel, more people will have clicked this video, so I'll have a higher view count than her total votes within just 2 minutes. And this was after 4 years of campaigning, 4 years of spending all this taxpayer money on flyers and all this propaganda in order to promote herself, it only turned into 536 votes.
On the ground, we're seeing a good turnout of residents. People's voices will be heard at a higher level than it was before, and a lot of support. So we expect the victory tonight.
I think that people didn't give me a chance. I think that I was blindsided from the go. I came in 2021. And when I came in 2021, I was faced with a recall. So every year, it was something else. Then they took me off the bank account. And then the next year was something else. So you never gave me the opportunity to continue to govern. And I want the opportunity to govern my town.
Now look, obviously throughout the local news segments, you will see that they're reporting that turnout is up, specifically in the village of Dolton. I believe the super mayor, the last go around in the election, only got about 1,000 votes, and that was enough to secure the victory. So you just have a greater idea of the fact that the people are more engaged now, because if you guys will remember, they voted her in the first place, but then after they saw how she was, they did a recall campaign, something that is not typical for anywhere in the state of Illinois, and Tiffany Henyard lost that recall campaign. But for the fact that a judge ended up invalidating that recall vote, she would have been out of office 2 years ago. But now this is a straight up primary election. She has been defeated, and after she was tossed off the ballot in the Dolton Township, she's going to try a write-in campaign over there. This basically ends her political career.
Anything in hindsight that you would have done differently over these last 4 years?
Yeah, I would have told on the trustees sooner.
Or at least for a normal person, it would 100% end their political career, but Tiffany A. Henyard, I got a feeling, has greater aspirations.
What trustees and the public got was a self-proclaimed super mayor and very little or no transparency on the village's finances.
We had to go to the Illinois Attorney General's office to get you to turn over documents.
Now look, as of right now, I'm sure you guys are well aware of the reason for this result. It's not just the attention that she was getting as this corrupt mayor in the village of Dolton. It's not just that she was a comical figure throughout her whole tenure as the mayor. It's the fact that this woman was absolutely crazy, completely unhinged, and we're just going to go through some of her greatest hits that we haven't touched upon in a long time so you guys can have an understanding of how bad she actually was. So, of course, we talked about it on this channel before. She ended up getting into it multiple different times with a former member of the Dolton Board of Trustees, and eventually this ended up leading to allegations, or as the super mayor would say, allegations.
False allegations and not facts.
That the super mayor ordered a drive-by shooting on this person's property. Yeah, guys, I'm not kidding about that. And in fact, we have security video of a shooting occurring at and around the property of this woman that she was getting in disputes with. And just remember, this is considered a minor portion of the controversies that the super mayor brought up. Obviously, we have the famous Chevy Tahoe that cost in and around $93,000 that the super mayor ended up leasing for a total cost of in and around $150,000, which is a ridiculously absurd interest rate, of course, all billed to the taxpayer, and the super mayor denied it despite the fact that the board of trustees member who was presenting her the lease agreement showed her signature to her in the same meeting.
I sat here and looked at a lease that y'all was paying $149,000 for one of them trucks. You make absolute, that's like when you 19 years old and you go get a car and the interest rate 27%. That makes absolutely no sense. You're
Please
not making
facts.
great finance, excuse me?
Please state facts.
But let me tell you, here it is, dated December 27th, 2022. The cash price of a 2023 Chevy Tahoe, $93,216.71. Interest and APR, $55,929.49. Total lease price, $149,146.20. Tell me if it's not facts, because your signature is all on it.
I don't see that.
Okay, but you want me to pass?
I don't.
All right.
I'll
But
give
at
my
the
statement
end,
in a
at
few
the
minutes
end
when
of
you
the
finish.
day, it's not about going back and forth with you. It's about making financial decisions that
is in the benefit of everybody.
I mean, again, there's the trips, the lavish travel, and all the incidents that occur on these trips. Like, for example, the fact that she spent something about $70,000 on trips over a 4-month period. Remember, that's not the grand total of her trips when she was the mayor in office. Stayed at luxury 5-star hotels. Oh yeah, and on one of those trips, the Vegas trip, one of the trustees that actually supported her, Trustee Holmes, is accused of sexually assaulting a person, and the super mayor is accused of covering that up. And of course, we're not even talking about all the stuff that's related to her fake charity, which as the supervisor of the Thornton Township Board of Supervisors, she ended up appropriating $10,000 of taxpayer money to said organization, which I hesitate to call a charity because they never once filed the paperwork to be a legitimate charity. And then she did a walk in order to raise money for breast cancer that she billed to the taxpayers via credit cards in the village of Dolton. And all of this came together to lead to a comical tyrant that was essentially bankrupting this small town that started, by the way, when she was in office with a $5 million surplus and has ended with a $7 million deficit. And again, this is for a village of around 20,000 people. And again, she held 2 elected positions, one as the mayor of the village of Dolton and one as the Thornton Township supervisor. So she was bankrupting both the township that she worked for and the village of Dolton at the same time, commingling funds. FBI investigations were launched against her, and it was absolute madness from top to bottom. And when she was called out in the village of Dolton by the all-black members of the Board of Trustees, when she was called out by the population, 90% of them are black, she decided to accuse them of anti-black racism. You think I'm joking about this? You think I'm not serious? You think I don't have the clip on the ready to play? Of course I do.
Because y'all got false narratives out there, and y'all should be ashamed of yourself. Y'all black. Y'all are black. And y'all sitting up here beating and attacking on a black woman that's in power. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. All the stuff that y'all did to get people to come to our community, to just diss and down our community. Shame on y'all. Because when I want to attack and take any of y'all seats, I run for the seat.
I mean, again, for YouTubers, for content creators, for me personally and this channel, this woman was the gift that keeps giving. Now, of course, she was the person who made the village of Dolton into a joke, made people embarrassed to live there, was an embarrassment for the trustees, and they've been in a power struggle with her all along the way. And by the way, this power struggle was made all the more difficult, due in large part to the fact that the super mayor had absolute control over the police department, due to the fact that she was allowing them to bill the city insane overtime because they were on her personal security detail.
The officers are paid every 2 weeks, which without overtime is 80 hours. But when they're put on Henyard's detail, that 80 hours balloons to well over 100 hours, sometimes 200 hours. And in the case of Officer Terry Young last May, 303 hours worked over a 2-week period. That resulted in a single paycheck of more than $13,000.
How does a person put in a 2-week pay period, 303 hours? That's impossible.
I mean, again, this woman was absolutely crazy, completely unhinged. She started a podcast. She came in dressed as Nino Brown, the character from New Jack City, played by Wesley Snipes, and had a DJ announce her entrance. She did all these other crazy, ridiculous stunts throughout her time in office, all while under investigation by the state, all while under investigation by the FBI, while she had members of her inner circle being indicted by the FBI, also investigated by the FBI. Her police chief ended up losing all of his police privileges, and she still managed to last the 4 years. She is still not officially out of office. The general election day, which she is not qualified for, is April 1st of this year, which is honestly quite fitting that you would decide who's going to replace her on April Fool's Day, because make no mistake about it, her election the first time, the joke was on the villagers in the village of Dolton. The joke was on the Thornton Township, and I know she wasn't elected over at the Thornton Township. She was appointed to fill a position of somebody who I believe had passed away, but the fact of the matter is that they have regretted that decision ever since they appointed her.
An explosion of cheers and emotion tonight as the numbers started coming in, showing Jason House and his slate winning in a landslide. Some people even started dancing. Tonight's election effectively signals the end of the 4-year tumultuous term of Mayor Tiffany Henyard, who garnered national attention for her lavish spending, personal perks, and questionable contracts, all of which are now at the center of an Dalton FBI investigation. Now, the past few months in Dalton have been political chaos with canceled meetings, a no-show mayor, even a fistfight at the Thornton Township meeting where Henyard is also the elected supervisor. House telling the crowd tonight that Dalton's nightmare is finally over.
Now look, with all that being said, I have to be 100% honest with everybody out there in the audience. Selfishly, this is actually terrible for me and terrible for a bunch of other YouTubers that cover the super mayor. She is essentially the goose that lays the golden egg. I mean, she steals the golden egg in the village of Dolton, but for us, she lays the golden egg because when are we ever going to see somebody this openly and blatantly corrupt, this openly in love with themselves, this out of touch in office at the same time? I mean, again, this woman got into a physical fight when her boyfriend attacked somebody who criticized her at a Thornton Township Board of Supervisors meeting just a couple of weeks ago. That's not going to happen again. There is no replacement super mayor. She's basically done, and that's going to negatively impact all of our channels. But to be, again, 100% honest, I'm really happy for the villagers in the village of Dolton, and a lot of them seem to be very appreciative of all the coverage and spotlight from all these different YouTubers. They feel like the attention helped them oust this woman. They were suffering in this small town that nobody would have really heard about unless people started picking up the story. So for them, I think it's definitely worth it, and I am very moved by anybody who reached out from the village of Dolton to send thank yous or whatever, because honestly, I was covering the story for entertainment. Obviously, I do care about what happens to you guys in the village of Dolton, and I'm happy that you have the chance of moving forward. I mean, again, the super mayor was so bad as a figure in the village of Dolton, they had to hire Lori Lightfoot to be the good guy in order to investigate her, and actually, by comparison, Lori Lightfoot was 100% the good guy. But yeah, it's really kind of sad that the super mayor is gone. Unless she runs for office again, I don't know what we're going to do.
Now, Henyard did tell WGN on the phone that she does accept last night's result. She also says that she may be looking to run for a higher office,
Yeah, you heard that right. The super mayor is actually considering running for a higher office than the mayor of the village of Dolton, than at the Thornton Township Board of Supervisors, which means there absolutely is hope. The super mayor could be Senator Super Mayor, or Governor Super Mayor, Super Governor Mayor Super Mayor Tiffany A. Henyard could be in her future, and I just want to say, because the state of Illinois has a ton of problems, and I know there's good people in the state of Illinois, I'm kind of rooting for it. I definitely 100% would like to see it. Honestly, if she made it to the Congress, she would make Jasmine Crockett look sophisticated. So if that's the case, if she's going to find a congressional seat and run for it, I think maybe, just maybe, I might be in support of that. Maybe, just maybe, I might be on board for Tiffany A. Henyard, representative of whatever district in the state of Illinois, because, I mean, come on. We need more super mayor. We need more Tiffany A. Henyard. We need a public trial that's filmed on TV if she's going to get arrested right after the election. Something in order to keep us satiated, because we just don't have that much more time with her. Again, she's out of office after April 1st, I believe. That's it. That's game over. That's when Jason House is going to be the new mayor of the village of Dolton. And this is a guy that we've covered many a times fighting back against the super mayor. And he just is not going to have that level of corruption, which again is good for the members of the village of Dolton, the residents there. It's not really great for the YouTubers. But of course, I want to know what you guys think about this down in the comments below. Even though the super mayor says that she'll accept the results of this election, do you think she is going to be held up in Dolton's town hall with a shotgun and a pile of cocaine, ready to make her last stand? Or do you think she's going to disappear and we're never going to hear from her again? Or do you think she's actually going to run for office, whether it be Congress, governor, senator, or something of the sort? And if so, does she actually have a chance of winning? Again, let me know down in the comments below. I'm kind of a little bit sad about this, if I'm being perfectly honest, but as per usual, if you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the end of the super mayor. Till next time.